Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. But we are joined by a very special guest. So the first time ever, center for the Washington football team, Mr. Tyler Larsen. How are you doing tonight, Tyler?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, because we have to talk, Mr. Larsen, because, look, last week you got injured, and then also you got placed on the COVID list. So I cannot start this out without asking, how are you feeling, bud?
Sometimes it feels like when it rains, it pours. But I've had COVID last year, and this go around is a lot better. So
that's good. Glad to hear that.
Things are all right.
Yeah, definitely glad to hear that. And like he just mentioned, obviously, unfortunately, you got injured, but a guy that's going to be stepping in this week is going to be Keith Ishmael. Can you kind of just tell the fans that are going to be listening to this podcast what a guy like him kind of just brings to the table and what he's going to bring to the offensive line coming this, I guess, Tuesday when the game's played?
Yeah. I mean, Keith, he's a young, hungry, get after it, smart kid. I know that the guys around him have nothing but confidence in him. You saw what he did in the Seattle game and Oakland game. He stepped right in, and the offense really didn't even skip a beat. So I'm excited for him and the opportunity he's got ahead of him. And I mean, it doesn't hurt having so much experience and so many good guys around you too. So I think he's in a good situation.
Yeah, and I totally would agree with you there. Now, my next question to you was Taylor Heinicke. Not many people on this football team can say Taylor comes up and touches their butt after every snap. But I wanted to ask you, Tyler, what is your opinion on Taylor? Obviously you've got to meet him personally and on the field as well. What is your thoughts on Taylor? What do you think of him?
He by far is one of the toughest guys I've ever been around. He's got the guts that I think a quarterback needs to be successful in the NFL. And I mean, personally, as being an offensive lineman, he gets us out of a ton of situations where we should not be in, whether he's escaping some type of pressure or something like that. So having Taylor behind you, I wouldn't change it. I think he's a great quarterback.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with you on that one. And speaking of you being a center and everything like that, a lot of people don't know what goes into being a center in the NFL, what like kind of pre-checks you got to do when you're a pulling center, stuff like that. So can you just tell us what really goes into your preparation as a player and just being a center in the NFL?
Yeah. So obviously every single defense has a different little spice of the week. But I think we have great coaches that keep us really prepared. We got protection meetings with the running backs every Wednesday, and making sure that we're all on the same page.
Wow.
Then really you just I don't know, it just goes off film study, seeing what defenses do, see how they try to disguise some type of pressures, see what the safeties are doing to kind of alert us. So there's a lot that goes into it, and then after you do all that, you just got to really study the guy that you're going to be going against most of the game. But, yeah, it's just I got this little process going that I do every single week, and it hasn't failed me yet, and so I'll just keep that.
And right before we keep going, I just wanted to say the Burgundy Zone is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more at www.listenfrederick.com. Now, Tyler, I got to bring this down to earth a little bit more here because I feel like you have the best number in sports. And I wanted to ask you, was that assigned to you or did you pick that number?
To be honest, so my older brother, he played for the Ravens.
Okay.
And he happened to be just given number 69. And then so I was on Miami and Washington my first 2 years. I was 61, 63. And then I went to Carolina, and I'd look in my locker, I'm number 69. So I'm like, okay, it's probably a good sign because my brother had that number. And lo and behold, I make the team that year, and I just figured I got to keep that number and keep riding with it.
69 is a lucky number. Okay.
Yep.
Can't blame you on that one, honestly. Man, you mentioned your days in Carolina. Can you just mention, obviously you played for Ron Rivera when you were in Carolina as well. What is it like just being around that guy, like him as a coach and him as a person? And
Yeah.
also, kind of a double question, you blocked for a guy like Christian McCaffrey. I know a lot of people coming into this season thought that Antonio Gibson would kind of be like kind of the Washington's version of like a watered, I'm not gonna say watered down, but like a McCaffrey light type of thing. What's the kind of similarities that you see between McCaffrey and Antonio Gibson?
Yeah. So, first part of the question being with Ron, he's just a great guy. Very players coach type feel. He's always asking questions like how our family's doing, stuff like that. So, I think he does a really good job, not just having it about football, but having that family sense and actually caring for his players and what's going on outside of football. I'm forever grateful for him. Obviously, I've had 6 years in the NFL under him, and it's been a blessing. So, and then to answer your question with AG, man, when he hits it, and I see that similarity with when I was blocking for Christian, and he's a tough running back to stop. Once he gets that feel going throughout the game, and I think you've seen it the last 5-6 games. We've really found that run game, and he's getting a lot more aware of our blocking schemes and stuff like that. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for what he has in the future with his career.
Yeah, and unfortunately on Sunday, the way that game started out was not good. And I'm not sure if you guys have watched it, but one of my favorite movies is The Replacements. And Shane Falco in that movie talks about his biggest fear being quicksand. And when you start a game, you think everything's fine. One bad thing happens, another, and before you know it, you're in over your head. And I wanted to ask you, did Ron Rivera rip into you guys at halftime? Because that second half performance, I mean, that was absolutely amazing. What was it like in that locker room at halftime?
It was just a mentality of, all right, that was a crapshoot. We got to put it behind us, and it's all about what we bring out in the second half and show the world what we got. And I think we did that. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but I think we showed everybody that we're not going to just lay down and play dead.
Yeah, love that answer. Especially you see them guys, I guess, not this Sunday, but next Sunday anyway. So definitely looking forward to that matchup again on the rerun of that matchup. And you spoke about the coaching earlier. A lot of the people in the fan base always hear about Coach Matsko and how like hard of a coach he is and how great of a coach he is. Can you just kind of explain what kind of coach he is on and off the field?
Yeah, so he's very intense. But I think as an offensive line, that's kind of the kind of coach you need. He's the kind of guy where he's going to, what's the phrase? Brand it to your brain, sear it to your soul. So I
like that one.
I think he does a really good job of just, all right, this is our technique. This is what we're going to do. And he just keeps harping and harping and harping. And then you see it out on the field and you think, oh, okay, that's why we do this. I think Coach Matsko is a great guy for especially young players because that kind of repetition, that kind of coaching, I think sets you up for success. And then off the field, he's a great guy. He's just like Ron, always caring about, our families, always wants us to say hello to his wife whenever he's around after the game. And so, yeah, we've got a great coaching staff.
And we had interviewed Mr. Charles Leno recently, and he told us about how you guys were roommates back at the Combine when you came into the league in 2014. So I wanted to ask you, what was that like, being able to reunite with Charles, and did you guys just link up like nothing had passed?
Yeah, so it was funny when he walked in the locker room, we kind of made eye contact. He's like, hey, what's up, man? But it was, yeah, it's cool. It's crazy how the football world can just,
rotate,
tie together like that. I mean, like I said, 2016, I was here just for training camp, and then come back and I get to play with Brandon Sheriff again. And so just I've had so many cool experiences like that throughout my entire career. But yeah, seeing Charles and being able to start a couple games with him, it's unreal.
Yeah, that's crazy how, like you said, it's just like in life, everything's just like a small circle. Everything's like a revolving circle. But
Right.
speaking of revolving circles, I got another guy you played with. There's Carter Samuel up in Carolina as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know again a lot of the fan base obviously hasn't seen him this year due to injury, but just kind of explain what kind of player he is and what he can bring to this offense once he gets fully healthy and it actually is at his peak of his powers.
Um, I mean, he's a threat in all levels. He's fast. He's smart. Um, he can play multiple positions. He's had an unfortunate stretch of just nagging injuries, and I think when they signed him this offseason, that was a great move because he really is a true weapon for an offense, especially in Scotty's type of scheme.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And my next question, I know I don't want to bring this down off the field, but it's the holiday season, Tyler, and I wanted to ask you, as a kid, is there a Christmas present you could think back to that you think is like probably the best thing you ever got as a kid?
When so Nintendo 64, when it came out,
My
everybody
man.
for solid 6
classic.
months. I didn't have one, and I was just jealous of all my friends, and then me and my brother got a surprise gift that Christmas.
What was your favorite game, GoldenEye?
Yeah, are you a GoldenEye guy?
GoldenEye was first, then Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Right.
Smash Brothers. Mario Kart has to be up there too, right?
Yeah, it's up there.
It's up there.
I'd say instead of Mario Kart, I like Diddy Kong Racing more.
Okay.
My man.
And we are now joined by our other co-host, Michael Reed. How you doing, sir? And
I'm doing fantastic, Kyle. How are you?
Doing great. Do you have a question lined up for Tyler?
Do I have a question lined up for Tyler? I have all the questions lined up for Tyler. I'm just excited to have you on right now.
Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So I don't know what's been asked so far yet because I'm tuning in late. So if you've heard this before, go ahead and stop me. But with the game being changed to Tuesday, does that benefit this team at all whatsoever, do you think? Do you think that there's a chance that some guys could come back?
I would think so, especially seeing the new just hearing the new COVID regulations, right, where vaccinated players, if you test negative twice, then you're good to go. So can't help but think that this is going to be a great benefit.
Yeah. And now to wrap this up, Tyler, I have a couple questions for you. But my first one being, I kind of noticed like how you responded to the Brandon Sheriff bringing up his name. So I wanted to ask you, what is it like to block in between Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff? Because Eric has done a great job this year. Brian Baldinger loves to break down his film. And we know about Brandon Sheriff. He's kind of been off injured a little bit here and there. But what is that like for you? Because I know that
massive humans.
You look up to Sheriff in some capacity, right?
Oh, yeah. Seeing the success that he's had and being able to watch his work ethic. And, I mean, it's evident why he's been so successful in his career. And playing next to E, man, he's he's a giant amongst men. He's a smart player. I've never seen anyone where it just comes so natural than he does. Than he makes it look. And so being a center, selfishly, I wouldn't want any of them away because, I mean, they just make my job easy.
Right. And then my next question for you, the 4-game win streak, the fan base was not confident in this team heading into that Tampa game that you guys won. Nobody was giving you guys a chance, and you did it. And then you continue to win 3 straight. What kind of clicked as a team? I know it kind of seems like it's probably foggy. It went by so fast. But what do you think really happened during that 4-game win streak?
Shoot, I don't know. As offensive lineman, I'm going to say we ran the ball a lot. But no, I think once you have a bad losing streak like that, and then you just flip it around, eventually you got to move on from that losing taste in your mouth. And I think everyone was hungry to get that win. And I think just that Tampa Bay game overall as a team, not just offense, defense, special teams, as a team, we actually came together. And I think we really saw what it takes for us to continue to be successful. and we put that into place and took off.
And it was almost like the Cowboys' first half, second half was almost like a microcosm of that Tampa Bay game,
Right.
that 4-game win streak, right? Tyler, I can't thank you enough for joining us, sir. I know it's obviously you're going through your own issues right now on top of COVID. You already have an injury as well. I can't thank you for taking the time out, being able to come on here and talk some ball with us, sir, because I'll tell you, this was a pleasure. I had one more for you about Chris Cooley. I know you went to Utah State, and you went to high school in Utah. I didn't know if there was any correlation, like if you ever remember Cooley growing up.
I've never met him personally, but I hear constant stories about the guy, and I hope in the future I'll be able to meet him someday.
That's super surprising. Yeah. I figured you guys would be like this by now,
Right.
Washington Utah State connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Tyler. I wish you the best. Happy holidays, sir. Wish you get healthy. Hopefully you're asymptomatic. You're not going through any crazy stuff right now. Thank you, sir. Enjoy your weekend. Have a blessed night.
And hey, thank you for keeping our O-line together.
Yeah. No, thank you guys.
You're the man,
Appreciate it.
Tyler. Thank you so much, brother.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man. That was awesome, Tyler Larsen.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah.
Cool dude.
Yeah. And like I said, I love how the O-line just hasn't missed a beat with him coming in there. When he took over, offensive line is still among the best in the NFL. Of course, we know that the injury issues and what's happened with him, but I really like him, man. He's somebody who could definitely start and who could totally be a perfect backup center.
And not only that, he's a great personality, too.
He's an awesome, he's cool as hell.
that was a lot of fun.
And he's good looking. He's very good looking as well. So,
but the biggest news of the day, guys, the Washington football team had up to 21 players on the COVID list. I mean, the COVID list was long as hell. I mean, almost like Santa's good and naughty list, right? It was crazy how long that was. And so the NFL did the right thing after Taylor Heinicke tested positive today for COVID. He's on the COVID list. They now put him on the COVID, so we moved the game to Tuesday at 7 o'clock against the Philadelphia Eagles. You guys think that was the right move? Let's go with you, Hall.
Yeah, I definitely think it was the right move. Not even just like being a homer and a fan of this team. I mean, look, they moved everyone's game around. The Browns had, I think, 18 to 20 positive tests, something like that, some crazy number. Obviously, the Rams as well had some type of crazy number positive tests. So, at the end of the day, I mean, for us to have still people popping up on the COVID list today, and we're 2 days away from the game, it just goes to show that everyone needs just to take a break, settle down, and then it was definitely the right move by moving the games to Monday and Tuesday. Obviously, I would love to watch a doubleheader on Saturday with the Browns and the Raiders and then Colts and Patriots. But, again, not being a homer, it was definitely, in my opinion, the right move.
What about you, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that you have to postpone those games, especially – I mean, like you said, I'm a bit of a homer, but especially ours. I mean, Heinicke made it 22 players that were on the COVID list after him. Like that's unreal. And your top two quarterbacks, you're signing a guy off the street. You're bringing up somebody who hasn't played in an NFL game. Like it wasn't going to be fun. It wasn't going to be fair. It wasn't going to be pretty. I saw a report saying that Rivera at Washington, and I think it was also the Browns, were about to forfeit. Like straight up, we're just going to forfeit, which means no players would have gotten paid from either team, and it would have been a terrible situation. The NFL had no choice. They made the right decision at that. And it's going to be weird watching football on Tuesday, but hey, I'm all there for it,
Hey, we're 1-0 on Tuesday, so it's all good.
There you go.
That's how I feel about it too, Hall.
Yeah.
And
maybe we should be 2-0 for Tuesday, right?
Yeah, let's go with our fan question before we are joined by our next guest. And that question is going to be from the Colonel himself. And the question is, can we field a team this weekend? And obviously it's not going to be the weekend at this point, but it's going to be on Tuesday. But are you guys confident that we'll be able to actually put a team together on Tuesday by this point with the updated COVID policy, which I believe is that if you are vaccinated and if you test negative in a 24-hour period, then you are clear and asymptomatic. So you're not showing any symptoms of COVID. You feel fine. As long as you do that and test negative twice 24 hours, you're good to go to play. What do you think about that, Reed?
I think that's awesome. I mean, that can only help us. I mean, we know that a lot of players got vaccinated. Obviously, we know that there was also some holdouts all throughout training camp, people that just didn't want to do it. And hey, that's them. But I mean, yeah, that could only help us, and that would be amazing. That's why having this game pushed till Tuesday I think will really benefit us. At least even if we get 5 players back, like that's better than nothing. I mean, look, what we were dealing with, it's just indescribable and it's terrible, and you can't field a team like that. So getting anybody back will help, and yeah, this new rule should really help out a lot.
Yeah, and I do think it will get a lot of the team back, especially like with a guy like Terry McLaurin coming off of a concussion
Yeah.
that he had that came from the field, by the way, wasn't done by a Cowboys defender like that one safety, Javon Curse, not Javon Curse, Curse. I think it's. I think
Imagine Javon Curse playing safety.
I think Curse is his last name, but he's a safety. I think he's like 6'4" or something. I looked him up. But he talked about you talked your boy up and then got his head knocked off or something like that. And I'm pretty sure he was talking about Terry McLaurin.
Look, you beta male. You guys had to double Terry all game. Don't act like Trayvon did anything to him.
The only reason he got concussed because of the ground. It wasn't because of you guys.
The only reason he got concussed was because of a bad pass by Heinicke.
Yeah.
He caught the pass. He literally lost both your dudes.
Right.
He just dropped the ball when he hit the ground.
I think it's a good idea for them to do it, especially for a guy like Terry. J.D. McKissick hasn't practiced at all this week as well, but Brandon Sheriff has been full. So I do think that we're going to get guys back because we keep forgetting Montez Sweat is going to be returning. They are optimistic about him.
There's a chance he could have played Sunday.
Yeah, and Rivera was very high on Terry McLaurin playing on Tuesday, and then Taylor. Hopefully Taylor is asymptomatic and is ready to go for Tuesday as well. And Jonathan Allen, I think, is the big mark because when we talked to Logan Paulson on Monday, Reed, he talked about how big of an O-line Philadelphia has. And so
I know what he talks about.
by getting Matt Ioannidis and possibly Jonathan Allen back for this game is going to be huge. So moving it to Tuesday, Colonel, yes, I do believe we'll be able to field a team and a pretty damn good one. I was still confident in this team. If we only had to rock with 40, I've been talking about all week, battle the siege of Bastogne. I feel the same way on Sunday. I thought that we could go in there and do what we needed to do. And any given Sunday, right? What about you, Hall?
Yeah. What was the active roster at? Like 40 players?
It was 40, yeah. It was 39 with Taylor going on the list.
Right. So I definitely think by Tuesday we can definitely get, if not all 53 or 50, 53-man roster. So if not all 53, I definitely can get like 49, 50 players on that active roster. I definitely think the Tuesday game is going to help. Had we been playing on Sunday, might be a little bit of a different story. But like you just mentioned, Kyle, a guy like Terry McLaurin who's dealing with concussion stuff, that gives him a couple extra days. Hopefully a guy like J.D. McKissick gives him a couple extra days. Gives a guy like Montez Sweat, like you mentioned, who hasn't been in like game shape, if they want to call it that. Gives him a couple extra days to get his cardio up and maybe come back and play on Tuesday. So I definitely think that we should be fine come Tuesday. And me personally, as long as we have Heinicke or maybe Kyle Allen, I don't know how I feel about Kyle Allen, but if Heinicke's on the field, Antonio Gibson, possibly McKissick and McLaurin, I feel confident that his offense will be able to move the ball on that defense.
I'd hold up on J.D. McKissick. I don't think J.D.'s coming back.
That's why I said possibly.
If you think about the guys that tested positive for COVID earlier in the week, like they remember right off the bat, it was a lot of guys.
It was Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams,
and they're going to hopefully
Sweat.
be back as well.
Exactly. Yeah, right. And so those guys should be back hopefully because they tested positive last week. They should be good to go by this time.
That's 3 defensive ends right there that you just named. So.
Right. And did you guys read the piece?
I think Chase Young's coming back too, I heard.
Did you guys read the piece on from Matthew Paris of the Washington Times on Shaka Toney's life growing up and everything?
I didn't read it, but I saw like the headline and like all the little excerpt that he pulled from her or something. Or maybe I can't remember who it
was. His mom is a widow, and she was raising her by himself, single mother, and they had a fire in their house. And they had a fire in their house, and she woke them all up. She saved them, got them out of the house, and actually the community and her, like they all worked and built their house back in the community and everything. And I think that's really awesome, and it speaks a lot to Shaka and what he does and his kind of determination to be able to get to this point. I really like to hear that about Shaka. Now, the next question from the Colonel is, given Landon Collins' reemergence as a defensive playmaker, does it bode well he finishes his contract here or even gets an extension, Reed?
Yeah, look, as long as Landon accepts this new role, which he seems to have taken to it very well. Yeah, I'm all for that. You don't get a playmaker like that very often. We saw this in training camp. He was dominant, and now all of a sudden he showed it last week. He's shown it for the last few games. If he can keep that up, you need a playmaker like that. That's not something that every team has. So I would love to see him play it out as long as he can play that role. But if he wants to go be a safety somewhere, strictly a safety, he's just not worth that money at that position.
Yeah, I didn't think that you'd be a white Christmas tree guy.
I'm not. But sometimes, I mean, when it's free, you're just like, cool, we'll have it up.
I can't fault you there. Okay, if it's free, I can't yell at you.
Usually, I hate all things white.
It's true. It's a good point.
I
think the Landon Collins' role, especially as a leader, recently up until this point, like he's been a consistent playmaker for the defense. To your point, Colonel, and so do you have anybody that can slide in? Do you have that confidence in somebody else being able to slide in there? And I think Cam Curl is being able to excel in his position, and same with Bobby McCain. So if the 3-safety system is working and he brings that veteran leadership and you are confident in him and he's showing that work ethic and he's being that guy, I find no reason to let him go unless things start to unsettle and not a great leader anymore and that kind of thing. But I really don't expect that to happen. I've gained a lot of respect for Landon over this year. I really have.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I don't know about an extension per se, but I definitely think he could finish his contract out here. Again, like I said, like maybe last podcast and one before this is the Landon Collins that we kind of expected to see when he first signed here for all that big money. So I definitely think that he's playing up to his contract almost, and I definitely think, like I said, if he wants to, like Reed said, if he wants to stay in his role and kind of be that Buffalo nickel, kind of play in that box and just pretty much keep making plays around the line of scrimmage, then I'm all for Landon Collins staying here, playing out his contract, and hopefully at the end of the day, he'll be playing at the same high level he's been playing for these past couple game stretch.
Yeah, and our next question, we're going to go to the Discord chat server where all of our loyal fans are. And Digital Guru sent this in. I thought this was hilarious. He said, you guys want a good laugh? Listen to WIP radio in Philly on the Odyssey app. Their fans are really upset the game got moved to Tuesday. One caller said we should be penalized a draft pick.
I saw that little like thing on Twitter where I think it was like what Frank Schwab was talking about that or something like that, or maybe it was the Raiders. I can't remember. But either way, dock the draft pick. Like, come on, bro. Are you serious?
Yeah, and obviously, this question was sent to us by Corey Sanchez. Obviously, love Corey. He's been a guest on here and a friend of us. We absolutely love Corey. I think he's the personality of Washington. The guy has more lines and phrases than anybody I know. But his question was, Hall, what position are you playing on Sunday?
Hey, it's like I said on Twitter. If they need me to go high school days, I'm saying high school style, just play both ways, I go. I can play safety. And, you know what I'm saying, put him in a wide receiver. I can run a couple fade routes for him, you know what I'm saying? I got the sticky hands, so I'll definitely go wide receiver over safety. But if I gotta knock a couple helmets off, I'll play safety too.
How much are like the league minimum payouts? Like, what's the contract?
I don't know, but you can give me half the league minimum and I'm good to go.
That's fine. I'll be the guy that catches the snap. You know what I mean? I'll be that guy. But besides that, I'll play safety. But honestly, I'd probably be best for linebacker, just because I understand being able to sacrifice your body in order to create and stop plug lanes and making things easier for your other guys to be able to come up and make plays. So obviously, I'm undersized. I'd get my rear end whooped. I'd be a punching bag for 60 minutes for some guy. But obviously, I'd give it everything I got. But probably linebacker. But safety, obviously, would probably be the best bet. I'd be a better Jeff Heath, if that makes sense. I'm kidding, Jeff. I'm just kidding. You're a pro. Yeah, right. And our next question is from Big Tony Shivers. And he said, aside from maybe getting some COVID guys back, thoughts on the delay giving new players more preparation and more time for Terry to clear concussion process? I didn't even see this, Tony. You and I thinking just alike, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like it. Hopefully we get Terry back. We get some guys off on the defensive back as far as the defensive ends go. Jonathan Allen, like you said, is going to definitely be a big piece because a lot of our pressure comes from in the middle of the defense with Ioannidis, Settle, and Jonathan Allen. So, yeah, definitely think that Tuesday, like I said, we'll be able to field a respectable team that'll put a good effort out there.
Yeah. Now, Scott's next question, or Scott Hartley in the UK has a question for us.
Oi.
And his is, with the game being moved and potentially players coming back off the COVID list, is this a playoff do-or-die match? And what mentality would you use going into this game?
I think all these last 4 games or the final 4 games are all super important games. I mean, you want to act like they are all do or die. You want to win each one of them because it's going to be so important. And after losing that game to the Cowboys, you want to win as many of these division games as possible. So, yeah, I mean, is it necessarily do or die? No. I mean, I haven't looked at the standings today or the last week really too much. But, yeah, you got to win. I mean, you just got to tell yourselves you got to win out. That's the only real chance you have.
Yeah, and I'll go back to what Ron Rivera said. Like when he said, like, before you get into everything else in like the playoffs and the rest of the league and the Super Bowl and playoff wins, you have to control your division, and that is the main part. And that's why I feel like it is very important this, to your point, Scott, that it's very important that Washington were to win this game. It was a must-win because you do have to control your division. And when we looked at this schedule in preseason before it started, we looked at it and said if they could get through that stretch and get to that 5-game stretch at the end of the season and be somewhere around 500, they will be in a good position. So without a doubt, yeah, this is definitely a must-win. And the mentality I would go with, I'm sorry, Hall, the mentality I definitely would go with, I've talked about it all day yesterday, and it's the siege of Bastogne, 101st Airborne, being completely surrounded by the Germans in Arctic-like colds, with limited supplies, no food, with a lack of officers. They only had 22,000 men initially. They were going up against 54,000 Nazis, soldiers that surrounded them. They offered them to surrender, and the 101st Airborne commander responds and said, "Nuts! Not surrendering. Go screw yourself." And that's the kind of mentality I would go into with this game. It's us against them, bro, and I don't care. I'll whoop your butt any day of the week, any given Sunday.
Nah, 100%, definitely. The mentality, like you said, the mentality to go in is definitely us against the world. Mentality, the David versus Goliath type of mentality they've been having for the past month or so with the Rock and everything in the locker room. Got to just keep that mentality. But as far as a must-win, I 100% think this is a must-win. I definitely think that both of these games coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles this week or this Tuesday and then week 16 or 17, whatever it is, I definitely think these are both definitely must-wins. I think we're going to have to get 9 wins max, but definitely 8 might sneak us into the 8th seed or the 7th seed, sorry. But definitely the ones against the Philadelphia Eagles are must-wins because that's the team that we're pretty much battling with for that 7th seed. This is a must-win game. We lose this game, I would drop our percentage of the playoffs down 15, 20%. We win this game, I think it's going to boost up to like 45, 50%, something like that. So this is a must-win. You got to go out there with that must-win mentality. Go out there with the Mamba mentality. Got to look at your opponent. The Mamba mentality.
I thought you said the Mama mentality. I was like, what is that?
The Mamba mentality. And you're going back to Philly where Kobe's from. So that's how you got to carry it.
I like that a lot. Now, our next question is from a former guest of ours, and a friend of the podcast, and a fellow actually YouTuber that is incredibly good at what he does. Everyone loves him. He's very popular. Mr. Street Scores Rico.
Hey.
His question is, this is so good. Would Logan Thomas be a better option at quarterback than any of the off the recently signed quarterbacks if both Heinicke and Allen would not be available to play? That is a great question.
That is a really great question. I mean, look, you saw what Bill Belichick did against the Buffalo Bills. He ran the ball 40-something times, only threw the ball 3 times to Mac Jones. I'm pretty sure Logan Thomas could go out there and hand the ball off 40-plus times and even possibly throw it more than 3 times, and he can run it himself. So I definitely think Logan Thomas would have been maybe a little bit of upgrade. But also, I mean, it's not even a shot at like Kyle Shermer or XFL guy. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Yeah, that guy. But I just think that Logan Thomas, he's like 6'6". He can see out the pocket. He obviously has a cannon type of arm. He played quarterback in college at VTech. I know it's been a while, but again, I definitely think he can hand the ball off 40-plus times. He could throw it more than 3 times like Mac Jones did. And, yeah, I think we would be mildly successful, in my opinion.
The only thing I'll say to your comment about running the ball 46 times, it'll be reminiscent of his playing days at Virginia Tech, because that's what we did a lot of. And that's one issue I've always had with Virginia Tech is being able to actually progress quarterbacks during their time. Like, whenever they're like at Virginia Tech, they're always good quarterbacks, but it's like they don't reach that next level stuff when they're at Tech. You know what I mean? And
like Alabama quarterbacks.
Right, like you see with like Trevor Lawrence, like at Clemson, that kind of transformation. You don't ever see that out of Tech quarterbacks, and the only time it did was with Michael Vick, and that was just because the dude was faster than lightning, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, I definitely do think Logan could play quarterback. Obviously, he was the emergency quarterback on some of the game days last year and this year. Well, when he was supposed to be week 1, obviously, once Ryan Fitzpatrick went out, I believe. So yeah, I definitely think he could. It would probably get him taken used to, but I would say they would run a lot of the read option stuff with him. He would be in great shape if he wasn't injured, obviously. A lot better shape probably than he was at quarterback back then, just because he's playing a different position. But he could definitely do that, Rico. That's such a good question by you. Now let's keep it with quarterbacks, Hall. This is from Scott Hartley again. Do you think we either draft a quarterback or can we finally solve the franchise quarterback issue, maybe with like free agency?
I honestly, Scott, that's the $1 million question. Like, are you gonna go the draft route and have a guy sit behind? I'm gonna probably just assume it'll be Taylor Heinicke going in as a starter next year, or are you gonna go out and try to trade for a guy and maybe upgrade from a guy like Taylor Heinicke? And at this point, I'm gonna let you know. I think it comes down to. I said this coming out the bye week, coming out the 4-game stretch, even like division games. It was a 5-game audition. Honestly, in Dallas, I'm not gonna lie, he failed that audition. So he has 4 more auditions to come out and show I should be the guy going into 2022. If y'all want to draft a guy to sit behind me and then learn and sit, cool. But if not, your twin, Derek Carr. I'm just putting it out there.
Stop,
Dude,
stop.
I'm with you on that one. I
Hey,
like Derek.
LV number 4 greater than Washington football team number 4.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Don't do that. That is ridiculous. Now our next guest is joining us now, Mr. Jamual Forrest. Let Maul tell it. The Trap or Die podcast. How are you doing today, Jamual? How are you feeling? Oh, I can't hear you.
But let's look at how fast he's going on his odometer.
No, but let's get this next question from Paul Murphy. I think what Scotland he is from. My man Paul always sends me pictures of like when he's drinking beers and stuff. Like it'll be like 7 a.m. here, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just putting a couple brave skis."
Yeah, they're the goats.
No, his question is: were you surprised that Washington wasn't one of the teams announced for international home marketing area? Hall.
I would say yeah, but also at the same time, from what I was reading, they didn't even really put in an application. So by that standard, no. But I would have kind of assumed that maybe they would go like the UK. Obviously, we have a big following in the UK.
Yeah.
Or maybe somewhere around there. But again, they didn't even really put in the applications for it for whatever reason. So
yeah. Hey, Maul, you with us yet?
Yes, sir. I just had to switch the audio from my truck from Bluetooth to speaker, so I'm good. How y'all fellas doing?
21st century always messing stuff up.
I do that constantly. I'm always having
that
issue.
Do it.
Yep. I can't stand it. But
I had it linked up in the USB, so when I took it off, it started acting funky. So I think I'm good now.
I wanted to ask you because Paul just asked the question. We got from Hall. Were you surprised that Washington didn't submit to be one of those international marketing teams, especially given the fact that they have a big UK base?
I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I didn't even know anything about it. So when Mike just spoke on it, it was news to me that they didn't even apply. The biggest thing on my mind this week was the COVID list, as we all know. So I ain't gonna lie to you. That international thing was like a sidebar to all the other stuff we had going on.
Right. I agree with you there. And what about let me ask you this question because you weren't able to be with us before when it happened. But for Tuesday, do you think that we're going to be able to have a formidable team on Tuesday, given the fact that it has now been pushed back to 7?
Well, I would love to hear what you all think after this answer, but for me, I think that it's twofold. Like I thought about it and the options that they're giving us, and for them to push it back to Tuesday, it's helpful. It's impossible to fill the team when you have 21 people on your list and you don't know if it's going to get any worse or if it's going to improve. You have no idea. So
and your top 2 quarterbacks,
yes, your top 2 quarterbacks there, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So giving us more time is always beneficial, and for them to do that for us, I don't know if it's officially announced yet because I know they said Adam Schefter said that they were planning on doing that, but I know they did it for the Browns already. They're thinking about doing it for the Rams as well, and for them to do that for us is helpful. And we'll be able to field a better team come Tuesday, hopefully. But even still, the biggest thing in my head at this point was realizing that Washington plays Dallas on Sunday night, and they're not going to move that football game.
Right.
So if we play on Tuesday, we're going to have the short end of the stick regardless of whatever happens. If we come out and get a W against Philly, that's the best thing we can ask for. But that Sunday night game is going to be rough regardless of how we spend things here, fellas. So I would love to know what y'all was thinking about that.
That is a fantastic
I
point
didn't
by you
even
because
think about that point.
I thought that they would probably work in trying to move that Sunday night game in order to kind of accommodate things the way things are going. But you're right. That's a Sunday night football. That is a big matchup, and the NFL knows that Washington versus Dallas is obviously a big moneymaker for two gigantic markets. To your point, that's going to be really hard for them to move that.
Yeah, man.
Now you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree. Like it's just one of those things where you're in a situation where we did you one favor, we can't do you two.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of where we at.
And like, I don't have a. What do you guys think, Hall? Like, do you have a problem with Washington kind of being okay with that? Like, would you have rather them stay with Sunday so they could be better suited up for Dallas on Sunday, or is this a must-win game to the point where it needs to be pushed to Tuesday, and you're okay with a short week going against Dallas?
Yeah, look, I never want to be on a short week, like short end of the stick type of thing. And like you said, I didn't even really think about the Sunday night matchup because kind of like the international thing. I was just so focused on Tuesday and like the COVID thing. I was like, when he said that, I was like, yo, that's like a 5-6 day difference. Like that's a quick turnaround. But at the same time, like I said before, I think these two Philly games are 1,000 times more important than obviously I want to beat Dallas more than probably almost more than the players do. But I would rather get 2 dubs against Philly and take an L to Dallas because, like I said before, us and Philly are kind of locked in like for that 7 seed. We're going back and forth battling for it. So I would rather get the 2 W's against Philly, be fully prepared for those games as opposed to the quick turnaround in Dallas. You get blown out. It is what it is. The division's not even in play anymore anyway. So, yeah, that's kind of my view on it.
And Jamal, I wanted to ask you, I asked this question to Logan, and obviously I like to call you the intellectual. I've never told you that, but that's what I like to call you.
And so he said that earlier. He was like, the intellectuals joining us. We're like, who? What?
So when we talked to Logan.
I'm about to start bragging for the rest of the week, fellas. I'm saying amongst as an intellectual amongst the fan base, you know what I'm saying? So.
That's a good,
I asked Logan on Monday, specifically talking about this Philly matchup, what would be a bigger detriment to the team, not having Terry McLaurin or Jonathan Allen?
Ooh. I'll start with the simple route. Not having Jonathan Allen is going to be more detrimental. And the reason why I say that is because the offense hasn't been that good anyway. And it's not Terry's fault, but the offense hasn't been that good with Terry on the field, and it's a lot to do with obviously other circumstances, the blocking and the ability for the quarterback to get the ball to Terry. But Jonathan Allen is a person who has essentially wreaked havoc every single game that he's been in. He's in the midst of an All-Pro season, and for a person who could potentially miss time at a position where they're already depleted, I can't sit here and say I'm worried about like Terry, take the week off. You had a concussion, like okay, cool, but we need John Allen. And that's what I'm more concerned about, especially in a game as critical as the Philadelphia Eagles game. I can't afford to have a person who's good at rushing the passer and stopping the run miss time, especially going up against the number 1 rush offense and a quarterback who has over 600 yards rushing on the season with four games left. I can't afford that.
I totally agree with you. I do agree that it is John Allen because the one thing Logan did say on Monday is that the Philly O-line are gigantic. Like, they're just huge. They're road graders. They're going to knock you over. And not being without, Matt Ioannidis, Jonathan Allen, and Chase Young, obviously, Montez Sweat maybe coming back, and Casey Tuhill, and whatever have you. That's going to be big news, and I totally agree with you there. What about you, Hall? Do you think it's Terry?
No, I got to agree with y'all. Like I said, obviously, when you have a playmaker like Terry off the field, it definitely makes the defense play chess while you're playing checkers. But with that being said, with a guy like Jonathan Allen on our defense, we're playing chess against a team like Philly who likes to play checkers, which is feed the ball to Miles Sanders and his running backs, run the ball with Jalen Hurts, and if we're lucky, we might complete a pass down the field to Devontae Smith, Jalen Rager, whoever else. But like you said, when you got a guy like John Allen who's in the midst of a Pro Bowl or All-Pro season, even definitely a Pro Bowl season, but All-Pro season as well, who's great at stopping the run. He's rushing the passer at almost every single play. He's like you said, causing havoc in the backfield. he's also like one of those guys in the locker room, just like Terry as well, a leader in the locker room, a voice in the locker room. He's a Ron Rivera type of guy. Just put your hard hat on, go to work. I definitely think that like Maul said, the offense has been so with Terry on the field. Without Jonathan Allen on the field, I don't know how this middle of the defense is going to look.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Now I know that that he came out, Nick Sirianni, whatever the coach of the Eagles, he came out and said they don't have a quarterback competition because Minshew came in when Hurts was hurt, and he did really well in that game. And obviously it was just a one-game sample. They traded for him earlier in the season, but whatever have you. Jamal, in this game going against Philly, who would you rather go against? Would you rather go against Minshew or would you go against Hurts?
Hell yeah, give me Minshew. I don't want to. I don't need to face Hurts. I definitely have a preference, and for Sirianni to say what he said, I think it's kind of funny because I'm not sitting here. I mean, he knows his team clearly better than us, but at the same time, I understand that Jalen Hurts is still like dealing with a lingering injury, so there's still there's not 100% certainty that he will play on Sunday or Tuesday, I guess in this case, but I guess Tuesday will make a difference for them too in that same aspect. But with that being said, give me Minshew. I would rather, especially with a depleted line who, when healthy, struggled against mobile quarterbacks. I would much rather still deal with a guy who's mobile inside the pocket and can move a little bit versus a guy who's an elite athlete, one of the top tier athletes at the quarterback position, who can kind of wreak havoc and extend drives by himself. The entire game. I'm not trying to sit here and die by 1,000 paper because I would rather have that man Minshew drop back and make a miraculous play versus somebody who can just make miraculous plays look like something that's totally normal in his toolbox. If you say like that.
Yeah, and I will agree. It really was puzzling to me how all off season and this season Philly was really in the Deshaun Watson stakes and these other quarterbacks because I thought Jalen Hurts is very good. Based off his college film and what he did last year, I thought he's a very good quarterback, and he could get it done in the NFL. He just needed a little bit of time. But I'm telling you, what about you, Hall? Because I'm telling you, the goatee, the mustache, it terrifies me a little bit. What do you think? Who would you rather face?
Yeah, I definitely would rather face the mullet man, Gardner Minshew. Like Maul said, when you got
mullet
a guy
power, dude. We got one on our team. You know
exactly.
What that does.
Mullet, they cancel out, so we got that. So
mullet versus mullet, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, like Jamal said, like a guy like Jalen Hurts who definitely just runs with no effort, makes plays outside the pocket with no effort, and literally the kryptonite to our defense over the past couple of years has not only been the tight ends, which they have Dallas Goedert, who's a great tight end, and the running quarterback, the mobile quarterback, who obviously that's who Jalen Hurts is. And when you look at Nick Sirianni in this offensive line, like you said, you mentioned their giants, Lane Johnson and them boys. They like to run the ball. They like to pound the rock, just kind of like we do. So I definitely think a guy like Gardner Minshew kind of evens the odds as far as us because if you look at the back end of our defense, they've been playing pretty well for the past couple of weeks. And outside of a guy like Devontae Smith, who has speed, no one on that offense outside of Dallas Goedert, obviously, who can work the middle, really, really scares you in the passing game. So I would definitely rather deal with Gardner Minshew and the passing game as opposed to Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, Corey Clement, Gainwell, and then working off the play action fake to get it down the field to Devontae Smith. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to appreciate Reed for joining us this episode because watching Sesame Street this whole time has been awesome. But my next question, I know that Howard Eskin, I think that's how you say his name, but he's like the Philly reporter. He always goes on to 106.7 with the Junkies, always talks crap about Washington, just tries to ruffle our feathers as much as possible. But he came on today and he said there was literally a 0% chance that Washington was going to win this football game. That was before Taylor was put onto the COVID list. So do you think that he's correct, Jamal? Like, do you think that we are that outmatched?
Oh Lord,
to go that far.
Put it this way. I'm about to say, put it this way. If Taylor was starting at quarterback, given that Kyle Allen was already out before the news of Taylor, I think he's wrong. It wasn't going to be a 0% chance. The offense, for the most part, you're dealing with a fifth string center, but outside of that, people or Cornelius Lucas who was on the COVID list, but I don't know, like with the new policies, maybe he would have been able to play on Sunday, but the offense is relatively healthy. Obviously we're dealing with the Terry McLaurin situation, but
I think Keith Ishmael's
he
coming
still
back
had
too.
pieces.
He got activated.
Yep, yep, and Keith got activated. So you're relatively healthy on that side of the ball, and given that yes, your defenses or defensive line really is depleted. I kind of look at that situation like where Howard, I think his name is, however he's evaluating it, he's not really taking into account that the Eagles defense is okay, but they're not world beaters, and Washington has an opportunity to keep themselves in the game as long as they keep their offense on the field. And that would take a lot of trust in Taylor Heinicke to really revert back in a good way, revert back to that game manager style that Washington needs out of him, and shake that hero ball mentality that he thought he had the last 2 weeks. I really hate it, and it's gotten these guys in trouble a few times throughout the season. But I think that this Eagles defense could be had, and I respect their front seven, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're as good as they were in years past. You can still move the ball so long as you execute, and Taylor Heinicke can make the right reads and have some patience on the field.
Yeah, I respect the heck out of Fletcher Cox, but obviously he's not the same guy he was a couple years ago when we literally wouldn't be able to run the football at all on that dude. But I wanted to get your guys' opinions on this situation. Just occurred before we started recording. Jamual, what do you think of this? Frank Schwab on Twitter, at is Yahoo Schwab, says there's an NFL owner actually saying we didn't get our chance to get a cheap win over a team that had 20-plus players out. So to give us an easier time, they should have to give up a home game. That was an NFL owner. And it happens to be the one that his head looks like a popsicle. What is it?
A bowl cut?
Bowl cut, yeah.
Man,
that is ridiculous.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what was your angle? Are you really crying about the fact that we had, like, why it's out of our control? Why is anybody complaining about that? Because if the shoes were reversed, or if the table were reversed, whatever the term is, I'm not that intellectual, even though y'all like to call me intellectual. If it was reversed, you would be hoping that you had that break too. Like it is what it is. So for somebody to be crying like that is actually funny to hear. That's my first time hearing it. But my instant reaction is like, it's a joke, man. And some people just they're really, they'll do anything for that playoff bid, and that's kind of where they're at with it. So it's funny to hear it, and I know it's hypocritical of them because they would love that break if they were in the situation that Washington was in.
Yeah, and this is like, look, if there's any positives at all, there aren't many. Like probably in a handful, you could say, of the positives of having Dan Snyder as the president or as the owner of the team. He doesn't do stuff like this. Even if he feels this way, he doesn't go out and talk to the media and make himself and us look so dumb like Al Davis just did. I mean, that's a child thing to say, And it's like, oh my, woe is me. This is messed up. You guys owe us. Like, what are you talking? I like to call him King Joffrey. It's just like he's just an entitled dude that just got thrown into it. And it just doesn't make any sense. Who thinks like that?
King Joffrey. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Where were y'all at though with the 0% chance thing? Where were y'all at with how Howard said what he said?
His reasoning for that was saying because he thought that they would split 1-1. And because of the COVID thing, he thought it was a 0% chance because he thought that Philly would lose the second game here at Washington, is what his whole mindset was with it. And I understand what he's saying, but I'm telling you, dude, he just does it to ruffle the feathers of Washington. He does it every time he goes on 1-6-7. Everyone gets pissed off about it. But we all know Philly fans. They think they are the crap while they eat horse crap after they getting their first Super Bowl. It's just that's just who they are, and that they're cocky, but you gotta give them some credit. They do have some pride to them, and I wish that we would have other reporters that would go on like enemy radio stations and say stuff like that, because that would give us some little bit of sustainability. I feel like. What about you all?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's tripping. Even with all the COVID stuff, there's still not a 0% chance because it's any given Sunday type of thing. Like,
right.
I don't care. Like I said, they gave us a 0% chance to beat the Buccaneers, and what happened? We came out and beat the Buccaneers by double digits at that. So for him to say, like you said, he's just ruffling the feathers. I don't really take any stock in what he's talking about because honestly, he doesn't really even come in and spit facts. Like you say, he just ruffles feathers, talks crap, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But again, at the end of the day, it's any given Sunday. Even with all the players being out, I still had a great, not really a great, like kind of like a thought that we'd win the game, but you saw what Bill Belichick did against the Bills, like I said earlier. He ran the ball 40-plus times. Who's to say we couldn't come in with AG, Jared Patterson, and whoever else, Jonathan Williams, and just pound the rock 40-plus times and have Tayamu throw the ball or Kyle Shermer, whoever was going to be the quarterback, throw the ball less than 5 times, and we still come away with the dub. So, yeah, I don't really take it in stock. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and now before we get out of here, I know that we're probably going to do a pregame on Monday, but we'll probably do our predictions then, Hall. But Jamal, what is your thoughts for the game on Tuesday at this point? I know obviously we don't know who's going to be available, and it's just a huge – because he even talked about on Twitter today how this is like a nightmare for betting on NFL this weekend, which is so true with all the injuries. So what do you think about the game on Tuesday? Predictions.
Man, you're right. Kyle, really, this situation is just so hard to evaluate. I said the betting thing, and also just to add to it, like the thing about the 0% chance. Speaking on bets, the only thing that really moves lines is quarterbacks. Yeah. So for him to say 0% chance is actually kind of funny, given that if Taylor is playing, then you're a fool for thinking that they have 0% chance. Like right. It is what it is. But back to your question, it's just so hard to evaluate, man. I didn't even do a game preview article this week because I didn't even know who was playing. Like, how can I write about something Washington needs to do or needs to focus on in matchups, and I can't even sit here and tell you who's playing. I can't. I don't know. So for me, I just think Washington, assuming that they'll get.
No, your internet's cutting out.
I'm sitting here thinking it's to win. The spread was at 5, or maybe I would say like 2 or 3 before the injury start or the COVID thing started piling up.
Yeah,
and
2.5.
I think with the 2.5 before the COVID thing started piling up. And I think that's the true number of where this game can be in terms of competition. Washington has a shot, assuming that you get half of these guys back. You're looking at a 7-point ball game, a 7-point swing either way. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you a score prediction or if Washington wins, because it's just hard to really project knowing where we are right now. But I will say, assuming that they get these guys back by Tuesday or at least most of the guys back, it'll be a close game.
Yeah, and that's why I like to call you the intellectual, Jamal, to bring up the fact that they were 2.5 points before the injuries because of all the chaos that has happened. Not a lot of people would remember that, just to talk about it. But before we get out of here, I just wanted to get your guys' opinions. You guys are both diehards. I thank you for doing this, Jamal. I know we're taking a lot of your time here, but the Joe.
No, you're fine. I was in traffic, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going nowhere.
The Joe Gibbs Facebook page, I forget what it's exactly called, but they uploaded a picture of Joe Gibbs sitting in front of cameras with a Doug Williams jersey behind him with a Washington Redskins helmet next to him and everything. And they're talking about the name change. He's making a video for the new rebrand, for the new name, and they're going to be ready to announce it. Wanted to get your opinion, Jamal, on that move because I absolutely love it. I think it's perfect for ushering in the new age and bringing the bridge between the old and the new.
I 100% agree. I actually saw that. I think it was on Twitter, either Twitter or Reddit. And I was just in my head, I was like, it's good to see Joe back. And that was one of those things where you're looking at Joe Gibbs and understanding what he means to the city and what he means to the team. Having him have a voice in introducing the new name and the new era for Washington football, it's good to know that he'll be a part of it. I don't know what he'll say. I don't know how much involvement he'll have, but for him to have his voice out there when things do when things do start to shake, I'm definitely all for it. Joe Gibbs is something that he's someone who always pulls the strings and reels people back in, regardless of what status the team is in, whether they're reeling or whether they're actually at the top of the NFC East or whatever. Even though that's been rare over the past decade or so, or past couple of decades, but every single time that he's around, people are happy, people are in a good mood. So they're going up the right tree, bringing Joe Gibbs in to make sure that he has a voice and he's a face to this new name change or whatever that may be.
Yeah, dude, because you're absolutely right about that when you called him something, because I feel like Joe Gibbs to Washington fans has turned into like an entity, to your point about calling him something.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I do agree with you wholeheartedly there, because if anyone's like, I've always said this, everything Joe Gibbs touches turns to gold. Gold, Jerry, gold. So I do agree with you there that they do have the right mindset 150% by bringing Joe in with this, because he kind of brings us back to where the good was. And if you're going to be able to have some sort of positive going with this, you're going to have him involved. And I'm glad that they did that. And Hall, I want to get your opinion on this especially.
Yeah, I'm 100% with y'all. I definitely think it definitely almost kind of bridges the gap between the old fan base and kind of that new up and coming fan base, and trying to bring in that new up and coming fan base that we have in the kind of like waiting in the wings of, are we going to be good or not? Are we going to be winners? Because let's be honest, like a lot of this fan base, a lot of people in this town, they're front runners. They're like winners. But again, who doesn't like winners? But long story short, I definitely think that Joe Gibbs definitely helps, and it definitely for all the fans that are all like out there, like there's none of the old traditions, and they're erasing the past. Well, they're bringing the past back to be like, hey, I know the past is gone per se, but it's a part of the past, kind of validating the new future coming in, what's going to be ushered in. So I love the move, and like you said, everything Joe Gibbs touches is gold, and hopefully they'll have him around even a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because him having the Doug Williams jersey behind him, it's just a class act, man. You miss Joe, you miss Coach Gibbs, dude, 150%.
Now,
Jamal,
now, no more making the brand though. Like, look, next thing that comes out need to be that name. I need that video with that name. That's what I need.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And I actually had that point of saying, look, yeah, I understand. I do want to be involved with the process, but as we're getting down here, let's give us a prerequisite before it gets going. Let's do it. And I do agree with you there. Hopefully that Joe Gibbs video is the one, because if Joe is the one announcing the name.
Look, people go nuts,
dude. You might not like the name, but you can't hate on Joe. If Joe likes it,
I need that famous Joe Gibbs laugh. They need to put that in the video.
That's actually a very, very smart move, because obviously half the people are gonna hate the name.
Yeah.
But how can you hate Joe Gibbs announcing the name?
Yeah. You can't. Jamal, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight, brother. It was a pleasure as always being able to speak with the intellectual himself. But before we get out of here, if you just wanted to plug your pod and also your social media handles, because I know what your social media handle is, Twitter. Let me all tell it. But the Trap or Dive podcast as well on YouTube. I try to pronounce everyone's. I always butcher them.
It's Let Me All Tell It on Twitter. I believe it is Twitter and Twitch. And then it's funny though, because it's really people out there who look at that name and think that it's Jamual. And I don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, let me all tell it on Twitter, let me all tell it on Twitch, and then Kyle helped me out with the YouTube, Trap or Dive on YouTube. We just posted the clips and some live streams on that side. So I do appreciate y'all, and obviously Kyle, anytime y'all need me, hit me up. And obviously we'll be in touch, man, through Twitter and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you having me on.
Of course, brother. You keep up the good work. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. Enjoy it. Be healthy. Hopefully all the COVID guys, instead of praying for you guys last night, hopefully you guys stay healthy. You're asymptomatic. You're not feeling too hard, especially Cam Curl, Jonathan Allen and company. Hope everyone is okay. And Tyler Larsen, thank you so much for coming on. Maul, thank you. Everyone, we'll see you guys on Monday. All right, I'm Kyle.
Y'all boys be safe.
Oh, appreciate you, big dog.
Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!